understanding SMA or really any diagnosis, you when you're coming here for advice and we're trying to give it to us, really, it's because we've been there. We're the experience that Aaron and I have, and I'm not trying to boost us up because that's not my point, but it's exceptional to the fact that we work on everybody. Most people at my level are very specialized. They'll only work with reflexes, but they don't work with vision. They don't work with diagnoses. They only work with autism. I work with everybody. Now, the familiarity I have is my dad has muscular dystrophy, Charcot-Marie Tooth type 3. And I don't know if the reason I have femoral torsion is because I'm a carrier or whatever, because clearly you can tell the difference even like with Aaron's children, with the kids that are carriers and the way that their structure moves versus the non-carriers. Even though they don't have SMA, Aaron's kids have SMA, same as your son, but they have type 1, not type 3. So the problem is with doctors, when you get a diagnosis, they look at the diagnosis as like everything. Oh, I mean, and that was the biggest problem I had with my son's, when the worst thing he got ever diagnosed with autism. Not that the autism diagnosis was bad, I can handle it. But every medical problem my son has, oh, it's autism. No, you don't have a white count of 22,000, Haemophilus influenza, sepsis, strep, whatever you want to call it, staph, sorry, and preseptal cellulitis because of autism. He doesn't have an immune system. And he is hypertonic, my son, because of his infections. And again, maybe because there's a CMT carrier. That being said, with the SMA, when they did the hips, what they're looking for is just the hip to the socket. I don't know why with pediatrics they don't look at the whole image. If I get my hips done and I had, let's say, a kidney stone, it will mark that my kidneys have a kidney stone. Even though that the x-ray, let's say, is for the hips, they'll remark on structure. And I can tell you right now, the hip might be fine, quote, be fine, but the whole leg is malformed, very similar to what I have. And you can also tell this too because when the step happens, the chest totally counter responds off those hips. And so what's being blamed for SMA is most of your problems is actually more so the structure of the hips. And you're not going to know that till you see the images. I've had my kid's stuff read wrong. My kid was ready for surgery and they said his stuff was unremarkable. Thank God my ear, nose, and throat read films versus going off the reports. So, they don't mean to, but they're not looking at the full picture. So I can tell you right now, that doesn't mean your son needs hip surgery. Like I have crooked hips and that's where I'm standing. So my load is different, but I know my body. And you have to get those images. I don't care what the reports say. And also too with eyes. So when your child's walking like this, right, you're not getting a good visual midline. All eyes are muscles. So if you have a muscular issue, you need to have those eyes checked probably every 6 months. I'll give you a year. That's pushing it in my books. And so you need to look at those things. But if you have a real midline issue because of the chest to the hips, the eyes aren't getting the functional movement they need to do what they need to do. So when I'm walking like it's very difficult for me to walk like this and look at you, right? Versus if I'm doing this and I'm trying to, now I have to get really hard in the shoulders, and then that affects my pelvic gait. So that's what we're looking at there. So you really need to update and make sure that the eye muscle structures are good. Do you need glasses or not? Because kids don't know. They see the way they see, but they don't see when they don't see. So I had a girl going blind, totally gifted program. She had double cataracts and never said anything to her parents. She was 10. So they just don't know that that's not supposed to happen. Whereas I'm getting old, so I need reading glasses. And I know my eyes are not the same as they were, let's say, even yesterday, sometimes much less last year. So that's what you're looking at. That being said, when you know the structure of the hips, now we can start devising movements around it. I really would go into that breathing course to open up those lungs better. SMA, despite the medication, really gets a very, very non-responsive chest cavity. And so that should always be on your daily routine. And then he does not have scoliosis, but the scoliosis course is great for the spinal work. that really needs to be done, because again, by walking this way, you're not getting the midlines that you need, and so the spine is shutting down. And so I don't want scoliosis to be one of your complications, again, because the hips are off. But as soon as you get the images, even if you can get a doctor to pull up the images, take it with your phone, post it up so I can tell you really what's going on in the structure and go from there. Thanks.